So I'm going to give you a review of the Pixel 10a in under 38 seconds. Ready? The Pixel 10a is the best phone you can get for under $500. Yes, it's barely any different from the Pixel 9a, and you'd do a lot better to find a discounted Pixel 10, but if you want to buy this phone specifically because of a carrier discount or trade-in deal you found, I guarantee you'll be happy with it. It's got all the core Pixel features, a design that is delightfully light and unbelievably flat, and hey, who could possibly hate this berry color? It's disappointing that there's no Pixel Snap, but the improved charging speeds, updated modem, and stronger Gorilla Glass 7i on the front make this the best A-series Pixel yet. Okay, so that's my review of the Pixel 10a. If you want to go more in depth than that, check out my buddy Michael Fisher's review up here. But before you go, I want to talk about some larger things I've been thinking about over the past few weeks, namely, what the Pixel 10a tells us about the rest of 2026's smartphone launches. So let me start by saying the last few weeks have been utter hell. I had the Pixel 10a launch to cover, then pretty much immediately jumped to San Francisco for the launch of the Galaxy S26 series. With only one day of rest, I then flew to Barcelona for Mobile World Congress 2026. I'm not complaining about any of this. I love my job, and I am very lucky that I get to travel around the world going to these events. I'm only bringing this up because I want to point out that I went to two major smartphone launches here in the United States and then went to Mobile World Congress, as this is important context. What struck me the most about both the Pixel 10a and the Galaxy S26 launches was how little the phones had changed. I already talked about in the two videos I made around those launches, so I'll leave links in the description for those if you're interested. But yeah, two significant launches from two of the biggest names in mobile, and all anyone can say about them is how boring they are. Even the iPhone 17e launch, which happened the same week as MWC, thanks Apple, was kind of ho-hum, even if Apple was smart enough to bring MagSafe to the phone, making the Pixel 10a's lack of Pixel Snap look like even more of a terrible blunder on Google's part. So what's worrying me is what this all means for the rest of the year. If Google, Samsung, and Apple felt compelled to simply put new coats of paint on their existing products in the first quarter of 2026, what does that suggest they're going to do later on? Are we going to get a Pixel 11 that's just the Pixel 10, a Galaxy Z Fold 8 that's just the Galaxy Z Fold 7, and an iPhone 18 that's just the iPhone 17 all over again? Obviously, I sincerely hope that's not the case. But with what's happened so far this year, and what we know about the state of the tech industry at the moment, I've got to say that I'm starting to get pessimistic about what's to come. You probably know what I'm referencing there, which is the RAM and storage crisis currently happening, which some have been calling RAMageddon. Now, this is a topic that I know a lot of people are aware of, but they might not understand what's actually happening. So let me break this down for you as simply and quickly as possible. The AI boom is pushing companies to invest in massive data centers. These data centers will need mind-boggling quantities of silicon-based products, including RAM and storage. Very few companies actually make these products, and the companies that are building AI data centers are monopolizing all their fabrication space. And when I say all, I mean it. All the space right now and all the future space too. In other words, the demand for these components has skyrocketed and the supply can't possibly keep up. So now, companies that make consumer electronics are finding themselves at the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to securing manufacturing time, because it's all already been allotted to these AI data centers. This is the most likely reason why the first few smartphone releases we've seen in 2026 have seemed so surprisingly iterative. The cost to make the phones almost certainly went up. So Google, Samsung, and Apple needed to figure out ways to cut corners to keep pricing relatively the same while still bringing in advancements that make the phones better than last year's models. That would explain why the Pixel 10a has a 2024 processor in it, why the Galaxy S26 Plus has barely any changes at all besides the processor, and why the iPhone 17e didn't get a lot of the upgrades it was previously rumored to get, like ditching the dated notch and going to Dynamic Island instead. So if we assume that's all true, the same problems will be around later in the year. The AI boom isn't going to stop within the next few months, and RAMageddon will still be going strong throughout all of 2026. All that silicon that AI companies are gobbling up left and right isn't going to magically be freed up come the summertime. In fact, if anything changes between now and then, My gut tells me it's just going to be worse than it is today. I know this sounds incredibly depressing, but it's not all bad. Remember how I went to Mobile World Congress right after the Pixel and Galaxy launches? Well, I saw some truly wild phones there. Honor has a phone with a frickin' gimbal camera built into it, and one of the thinnest, most powerful foldable phones ever made with the Magic V6. Vivo's X300 Ultra has this wacky camera attachment and is probably going to be one of the best Android phones you can get for shooting video. Even Nubia had some cool stuff with the Neo 5 GT gaming phone coming with built-in cooling fans and costing less than $400. All those companies have something in common. They are all Chinese. For whatever reason, Chinese companies don't seem to be nearly as concerned about the silicon crisis happening right now. They are still innovating, still figuring out how to cram more stuff into a phone, or figuring out how to do the same things they used to do, but for less money. Why is that? I honestly don't know. If someone watching this has any insight into that, I'd love to hear it in the comments below. Or, if you feel like engaging with me and other tech fans more directly, feel free to come over to my Discord. The link for that is in the description. Anyway, no matter the reason for China's ability to forge ahead despite RAMageddon's problems, that doesn't help me and the rest of my viewers who live in the United States. Outside of Motorola, OnePlus, and TCL, most Chinese OEMs have no presence here. While importing a phone from Oppo, Vivo, Honor, and others isn't impossible, that's something 99% of Americans will never do. So, we're going to be stuck with minor iterations on the things we've already seen before. So, let's bring this back to the Pixel 10a. I've said in this video and in others that you're probably better off buying last year's Pixel 9a since it's basically the same phone and will cost you way less money. Similarly, if you have your heart set on a Galaxy S26 or Galaxy S26 Plus, you'd probably be better off saving your money and getting a discounted Galaxy S25 instead. Even a deeply discounted Galaxy S25 Ultra would be a good buy over the Galaxy S26 Ultra, unless you're so into the privacy display feature of the S26 that you're willing to spend a premium for it. I feel like I will be saying this general refrain for the rest of this year. I hope I'm wrong, but I feel like I'm going to say that for the Pixel 11 series in the summer. I really hope that Google has a lot of cool stuff planned for that launch. But for now, I'm thinking we're just going to get a Pixel 10 with a new processor, better face unlock, and maybe a minor camera upgrade. Even then, I don't know how Google is going to do just those three things without raising prices. So yeah, I'm fully expecting to tell you to save your hard-earned cash and buy the Pixel 10 phones at the launch of the Pixel 11 series. All right, so let's close this out with a question for you. Given what I've just talked about, what would you prefer to happen? Would you prefer smartphone manufacturers to release slightly iterated versions of their current devices at similar price points? Or would you prefer that they go further than expected and do some big advancements, but with prices increasing significantly by, let's say, $200 or more? Think on that for a minute. For me, I think I'd rather see the price increase. I think I'd be happier with a Pixel 11 that feels like a big leap forward. But then again, I don't know if that's my honest opinion or my opinion that's skewed by the fact that my job is making videos like this one, and it's a lot easier to do that when the phone has really cool new things to it. I don't know. Please, jump down in the comments and let me know your thoughts on that. Before you go, be sure to like and subscribe, as those tiny gestures go a long way for me. If you want to see more from me before committing to subscribing, check out this video here, where I go over some of the coolest smartphone tech I saw at MWC this year. I'll see you all down in the comments.